This conference will now be recorded.
I have a motion to call the meeting to order. Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Keating,
Saw his lips move.
Keating, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
That's all right.
Trustee Lightgib,
Lightgib, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Plummer, aye.
Motion passes. Okay.
Okay, all about the budget.
Detour first, though.
Okay,
We need to see about the attorney bills. Are any of them okay to be paid forward?
I'm pulling that up now. Where's your latest list?
One from last night's packet.
In last night's. Okay, hold on.
Last night
Sorry,
was
was
a
that-
rough one, Dan. You had technology.
Oh God, it was awful. We've all been there, I know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of barely working right now.
Just stay
Mary,
away from Village
was it-
Hall with those jeeps.
There it
Sorry,
is.
was
No
it in
more.
the packet last night, Mary, or was that a separate email that you sent for the treasurer's report?
It was the
It
separate
was.
email.
Okay, just so that Dan can
And the
find
treasurer.
it. That's what I've got.
Well,
It's TR 41321.
Yes, it follows the vouchers for approval on the treasurer's report. It says attorney outstanding bills.
Do you want
And
me to
then there's a
screenshot it?
whole slew of them.
Yeah, you want to
Please
bring,
do that.
yeah, bring it up on the screen.
All right, give me a second.
That was the only thing we weren't able to approve.
right.
That is correct.
And then there's a carryover for minutes, meeting minutes to be approved, and that'll be, if you want to do that.
Okay.
Do you have it, Justin? Do you see it now?
I've got it up, yeah.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Mary.
So I can give you the ones that I know are approved.
Okay, shoot.
That,
There we go.
That is Osborne, Reed, and Burke. I'll give you it's the 13121. It's number 58907 for 313.50. And Zoglin, the ones that are 1600. So the 1600 flat, those are the monthly.
All three of them?
There's 4 of them.
All 4 of them. Yep, sorry.
I
All
don't know
4 of
what
them are
that-
okay?
I don't know what that X is for after it.
Oh, that was just a note to myself, though. Those were ones that had issues on them from before,
Yeah.
but it's my own thing, not
Okay.
for the
Those
trustees.
are the ones that are approved at this time.
Okay.
The one that I don't know about is the big Osborne. There's a 19,000 one for Osborne Reed.
Yes,
And-
it's the regular municipal bill, quarterly bill.
Yeah.
For all work that Jeff does, for general work that Jeff does.
So those are the ones that I know we can approve. So I will submit them for trustee review.
Mary, the general work that's in that 19,000, is that, does that include the HPV or that's separate when you say?
No, that
that's
is,
just our
H,
work?
HPB is a separate issue.
Okay.
The municipal one is for Jeff coming to the meetings, reviewing any questions that you may have on a daily basis, that kind of thing.
Okay, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember. Thank
And
you.
Mary, that's the flat, sort of like, that's the annual contract essentially, am I correct? Is there an annual, is there, I don't know.
He just bills per hour on these.
He does on all of it. Okay, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if there was anything that was annualized that way.
No, he stays pretty much within the same number, give or take a little bit, but it's usually around 80,000 a year.
Mhm.
So this is a quarterly one. It's from December 1st through February 28th. But that's the general work that he does. So those are the only ones out of his group that you will approve.
Yep.
What about Hudson Ross for 4197?
Nope. Need an adjustment from them. So
Okay,
I'm
is it
in touch with them about that.
okay? Just because I'm trying to get all the bills in and paid so that we can have a better reflection for our monthly, monthly review for expenses. Is
You
it
bet.
reasonable? Is it reasonable to think that the rest of these that we have outstanding here could be brought forward for payment next meeting? I think the
You bet.
24th or the 27th.
27th. You got it.
Okay, I'll bring them forward then. I think I did send you an additional one for another $280. I think it's for Osborne that I just sent out yesterday that will be added to this group.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
well,
Mary.
Thank you. I need a motion.
The
I'll
total
make a
on it is $6,713.50 for all those invoices.
Okay, I'll make a motion to pay those invoices. Do you want the invoice numbers or do you have them, Dorothea?
I have
Okay.
Can you say that total again, Dorothea?
6,713.50. Does that sound
Okay,
right?
thank you. I have no idea. I have no calculator here.
Really?
I'll trust you on that.
Mary,
All
I
right,
thought you carried a calculator at all times.
I thought it was in her
I
brain.
should, but I got to take a break sometime, Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, Stetser.
Okay, roll call. Trustee Keating,
Eating eye.
Trustee Stetser,
That's her eye.
Trustee Lightgib,
Like aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Plummer, aye.
Motion passes.
Do we want to, do you guys want to approve the minutes? That was the one last thing we didn't do as well from last night.
I have a
Yes.
few
Sure.
quick edits.
I do too. I actually only have one edit, so we
Okay,
can,
why
I'm
don't you go
ready.
first?
Okay, give me a second to pull those minutes.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, I
I
have
don't
them in
have
front of me.
anything in the first group though, Dan, so, sorry, Roxy.
Glad it's your turn, Renee, not mine.
The first one I have is in the March 23rd one.
That's same. So you go first.
So it looks
Oh,
like we can do February 9th first. Can we prove those first since it doesn't sound like you guys have any edits for that one?
correct.
I did not, I think
Do we have
just
the-
Lily, Dan and I are the only ones who can vote, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And Lily.
Yep, and
That's what I
Lily.
said. The three of us.
Yep, the three of you.
Thank
So-
you.
No problem. So one of you wants the motion, second.
Minutes from the meeting of Tuesday, February 9th.
Mm-hmm.
I make a motion that we approve those
I
minutes.
will second that.
Roll call. Trustee Keating,
Keating eye.
Trustee Stetser,
That's her eye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
Trustee Lightgib, you are going to recuse. Mayor Plummer, you're abstaining as well. So motion passes. Okay, hit me on the 23rd.
You go first, Renee.
Okay, second to last page, under the, okay, I'm looking at my notes from last night. Second to last page describing the new state speed limit legislation language. It should say East and West Jefferson, not Ease and West Jefferson. You'll see it in there.
I got it.
Okay, groovy.
Okay.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay, I have a couple in this one. it's on the second to last page of this on the board appointments section.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the sentence that begins, Trustee Keating commented that publications, blah, blah, blah. Change the
find
word
it.
discussed. Do you see where we are?
Nope, give me a second.
There's only one paragraph in that one.
Okay, Trustee Keating commented that the publication, so
Yeah,
you want
yeah.
to discuss?
Yeah, change the word discussed to the word agreed upon. That was the heart of that issue. Then on the next page, there's a spelling error. Not a big deal. Are
Where?
you on the next page?
I'm there.
Again?
Hold on, I need to mute someone.
Yeah, I'll mute caller one. I just did it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Where is it?
So on the next page, under the member items, under my member items, last sentence, Attorney Turner is preparing an updated resolution which will simply cite the mayor, CITE. Then, yeah, that's all I have for that one. So I'll make a motion. Does anybody else
I have one. I do.
Okay.
Okay, where?
Again, it gets is a spelling under board appointments. The name
Okay.
Maria Hewitt is spelled H-U-O-T,
Ah,
not H-E-W-I-T-T.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And actually, I think Maria changed her last name.
Yes, and we didn't have it.
Yeah. I can't remember it actually. She changed back to her maiden name, I know.
Yes.
Okay. We'll follow up with Maria and get the correct name, but
Perfect. Thank you.
reflect that one.
Perfect.
Okay. No problem. We'll get those corrected if I can have a motion to approve these. And
Sure.
let me see here. I think it's going to be the same three.
yes. I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for Tuesday, March 23rd, with those changes.
I'll second that.
Roll call. Trustee Keating,
Keating, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
That's her eye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lanfear, aye.
Trustee Lightgib, and Mayor Plummer will abstain, so motion passes. March 29th.
March 29th, I have a couple, or does anybody, can I just jump in? There's
Go
three
ahead,
quick
Ben.
ones. Yeah, there's three quick ones. Top of page 2.
All right, let me get there. Go ahead.
Right at the top, there's a missing word. Trustee Keating asked if any roundup. So it needs the word asked.
Yep.
There on the next page, there is it's the second full paragraph. It seems to have promoted Mark Harrington to be a trustee. So we
What?
need to, yeah.
Well, he took that.
Oh,
Yeah, well, he took it upon himself.
yeah, that's right.
to,
Didn't he vote that night?
Yeah, he made a motion.
Okay, we'll
So,
definitely correct that.
strike the word there.
Yeah.
And let me give you, I'll put it in the chat. It's a couple times in this document, the correct spelling of Thadaha's name. So
Okay.
that's at the bottom of that page and the
Yep.
the middle part of the next page. So I'll send you that. And then the
Okay.
last one that I had was, this is very important to me. At the very end of it, there's a motion seconded, and I voted no, and I clearly voted no on procedural grounds. So I would like that noted. And I remember I said the reason I'm voting no is on procedural grounds. I'd like the notes to reflect that. It has nothing to do with the cause or the mission or the idea. It was strictly the process that I was objecting to.
That's fine. Marina's working with me on these, so
Yeah, she's doing great.
And that's an accurate reflection of the content of the meeting too.
nope, that's fine. I do recall that. We will make that correction. Anything else?
No, I had nothing.
Renee, come on. I know you do.
I clearly just glossed over everybody's names. Usually I get the names, but I'm good.
Okay, as always, you please send me these changes ahead of time and we'll get them done before the meetings. We're trying to stay on top of them, so anything we can do and make meetings go smooth and quick, happy to do ahead of time. All right, so if I can have a motion to approve these March 29th, and it's the same trio.
I'll make a motion to approve with the changes.
Lanfear, second.
She got you, Renee.
I know.
Okay, trustee Keating,
Keating, aye.
trustee Stetser,
That's all right.
trustee Lampier,
Lanfear, aye.
trustee Lightgib and Mayor Plummer will abstain, so motion passes. Thank you so much. We appreciate.
Dorothy, can I ask you a question about that? I have purposely not sent my minutes edits ahead of time because I thought the other trustees would want to hear the changes being requested.
Well, if there's spelling or something simple like that, absolutely send them and just include all the trustees on any changes that you are looking to make. And what I will do is when I present to the board, I also will let them know that I made changes per request of the following and I agree. So I'll cover that. I can state, you know, that they were suggested changes as well.
Okay, that sounds good. I you just want to be careful of changing anything material.
No, I mean, I'm talking, you know, spelling and stuff like that. You know, we do our best, but sometimes, especially with people's names,
Yeah, Justin? Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering on the PZBA, I can't recall if it was Linda or Marina, but she, we had a copy of the minutes sent around in a Word document and we're able to just make a couple of changes with track changes enabled. Is that something that you would be able to do instead of sending us the PDF by any chance?
we could, but that would absolutely be a new procedure for us with the Board of Trustees. I'm always willing to look at it. Working with Marina, I spent a little time on the Google Docs. And honestly, I think it might come in handy for our packets, which can get quite heavy. We've had times where I can't email them. So I'm thinking that might be an avenue instead of paying one of the file share programs. So I am exploring it. So I'm open to looking at that.
Google Docs would be great. I have no problem with that at all. It's just a mechanism of being able to track the changes and contribute back those changes so you can see what we did. Google Docs would be great.
Yeah, nice. I second that. And just being able to collaborate offline while still keeping track of everything.
Totally.
And I don't use Microsoft Office. So if we do go, I use all Google for all of my work. So if we're going to do a Microsoft Office, then let me know ahead of time so I can purchase it.
Yeah, my whole world is Microsoft Office. So learning Google is something, and it looks easy enough. And obviously we can make those changes and make it work.
Yeah, I'm sort of a Google person too, but I like that idea because it really will streamline things for meetings, you know, because we will have sort of this.
Yeah, because this is time, especially if it's a name spelling correction, you know, we all make mistakes. We just need to get it corrected, and that's fine. All right, thank you so much. So the show is yours.
Now, the budget. Mary.
Woohoo! Dorothea, can you put it up page by page so we can review it? If there's any changes or questions or whatever.
I'm going from the overview sheets we had last night, correct?
Yes, only the program sheets. I don't need not any of the Excel stuff. So just the program sheets. So I can make changes right in there. It's much easier to do the fix.
Okay, well, unfortunately they're all together, so you're going to get it all, but it'll be just give me a second.
Well, yeah, you can just skip down to that.
Yeah,
because I think it's the last thing in that document.
Yep. Whoa, fly.
Just a little too far. Okay, yeah, you can
Start here?
Yeah, we can start there. Okay. General fund budget is 1,583,898. Property taxes, which are flat, are at 883,698. Why didn't I bring my glasses? What a dummy. Anyway, other revenues are 7,200. So that makes up, just as an FYI for the new people on the block, our revenues need to equal our expenses. So we need to come up with a zero at the end, unless of course we're running a shortfall somehow, and then we need to allocate monies for our fund balance. That is what that appropriated fund balance line would be. Otherwise, revenues equal expenses for a zero difference. All right, moving on to the next page, appropriations. And anybody stop me throughout any of this if you have a question or concern. I'm trying to just make this as painless as possible. First section, village board and mayor. Those amounts in there, the 25,488 and the 14,993 are what the current salaries are, plus 2.5% increase. I have small monies in there for conferences. It would be helpful for the people that are new and sometimes refresher for the older to attend conferences that are presented out by NICOM for, a variety of titles and stuff. So that is very helpful to you. Under the treasurer, 46,410, that currently is monies for Brooklyn and myself, and or a new bookkeeper eventually here, and then you could work around the monies around that. And these monies for all staff, I just as a general statement, is split between the general fund and the sewer fund, as we all work in both funds. It is not the case with the village board and the mayor. I tried to do that one year and the comptroller didn't like that. I don't know why. It just one of those things that didn't make sense. Clerk categories, 1410.2 equipment. We generally book a couple of computers in the budget so that in case something crashes, we have something there. Under 1410.408, I know there's been some conversations around newsletters. We have not put any monies in this category. This is for mailings, printing costs, that sort of thing. We were digital for those that we were doing recently, so there was no real need for that until the last month or so. So I don't know if the board would want to consider any monies here or just kind of see how it goes, and we could always allocate monies from a contingency fund for that. Insurance general, again, split between the sewer fund and the general fund. It's just general insurance to take care of any municipal work. Supplies, again, is split. None of these are big bucks. CPA support, same thing, split. Website split. Payroll services, a good deal of these are all split. Conferences, 1410.44. That's for Dorothea, Brooklyn, and Marina to be able to attend any kind of conferences that carry a cost to it. Usually that is money set aside for going to the NICOM clerk schools, and since we haven't had that live for a little while, I've got minimum money in here at this time. I don't think September is going to bring around a full school like we have had in years past, but it could happen. So that's just, again, money if we had to take from a contingency fund for that purpose. Under law, there's a whole bunch of categories in here, and this is what I was referring to the other evening. These are totals in here that were provided to us by the attorneys that are supporting the board work, and what their best guesstimate is towards whatever work they are doing. And that said,
Mary,
unless
sorry, the Hodson, they're coming in at 50, or is it 30? But the column headers aren't there.
1420.41 Hudson litigation is 30,000.
Okay, so it's the one all the way on the right. So I thought we were at
You're-
75 last year as an estimate.
It might
30
be, but it,
pretty good to me, by the way.
the number was provided to us by Chuck Malcolm of what the
Yeah.
anticipated work might be. If
What do you guys think? Do you think we should ratchet that up or down, or leave it the way it is? That's one of the truly variable total guess ones. They've been dramatically short on it in the past, and that has caused problems.
Right,
32
last
is
year,
good to me, but you guys tell me.
last year when we were doing this, when reflecting on previous years, we said there wasn't enough, so we increased it. It's hard to know how much we're anticipating using them this year, given
I think
the current status. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in like that.
No, you're fine. I was rambling.
I do that a lot. The year prior, 1920, we spent almost 63,000 for them. This year, current year that we're in, we had budgeted 50,000. This is where we did the increase. Their guesstimated total last year for us when we were budgeting was 25, and we beefed it up to 50. To date, we have spent 10,118.50. Along with that, will be $4,200 that hasn't been approved yet. So if that kind of gives you a little bit of a gauge, but really the bottom line to it is, what is happening with the litigation? Is it, how much more work do they need to be doing? What kind of work are they going to be providing, and how costly is it? So
Yeah,
the 30,000 was what Chuck had given us, guesstimating what it could be. We don't know. It's,
Okay,
it's kind of a look into your, crystal ball deal.
Okay, thank you. So the other challenge, so just so all the trustees know, 10,000 has come in so far. We've got another 4,000. That's only through January though. So we have February, March, April, May?
Correct.
Yeah, so there's still a third of a year that hasn't come in. So all that work they did. So look, 25, 30 is probably where they're going to end up with the year. So this year feeling just like last year kind of looks all right to me.
Can I make a suggestion here, Dan, if you don't mind? I know you're planning on talking with Hudson Ross next week or before next week's meeting to see about the corrections for the 4,200. Perhaps you can run that past them and see where we are with our other bills so that we can, one, get them processed and paid so we have a truer reflection of what is happening, and two, better feel for where they think we are at this time going out a year. And that might be helpful. And I would still have, technically, I would still have time to make changes to this budget prior to the adoption of it at next week's meeting. Worst case scenario, we would have to find the money out of the budget after June 1. So, I mean, and could be a sizable amount if that's the concern. So it might be an issue that you might like to get taken care of prior to next week. Just a suggestion.
Just a quick comment on this. I don't have a perfect answer for this one, but before this meeting, I was looking through the follow-up from the comptroller's 2017 audit, which was posted in February of this year. And it does mention specifically the legal expenditures, and it says the legal expenditures exceeded the budget by approximately $266,000, 38% from fiscal year 2018 through 2020. It goes on to say that we did improve our estimates of legal expenditures during the period. But I'm thinking that, given what the comptroller said there, I would err on the side of being conservative and budgeting a little bit extra so that we're closer. to the marks that actually come in. So I don't have a firm answer on the exact amounts, and perhaps please correct me if I'm wrong about using that section in the follow-up of the comptroller's report, but my inclination would be to estimate a little bit more if that's helpful in being on target with what we actually end up spending.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a good point, Justin. And that's why we padded it last year. That was the exact reason. So we got a 25 estimate and we padded it up to 50. The question, though, we had pending litigation last year. We have none right now. So I hear what you're saying. In many ways, I think the 30 is a pad. I'll certainly sleep on it and ask the other trustees to do the same. And to Mary's point, gather a little bit more information from Hudson Russ. But you could frame that 30 as already being a pad.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Okay, the other thing to consider, just throwing it out there, any of these monies throughout any of these categories that you may consider raising, we have to find the money within this budget if you want to keep the taxes flat. Otherwise, those taxes are the only place where we would end up having to increase them to absorb the difference. Just saying it because we do have a contingency in here, which I'll be going to fairly quickly here. But that contingency is for anything that has not been budgeted throughout the budget process that comes up throughout the year. And it may be that we have enough money in that contingency or not. So that's the mechanics of it going forward, just so that you are aware. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good to move forward. All right, 1440.42 South Street design, that's 25,000 just for design work. The project is currently guesstimated to be about 250,000. So considering what is going out on the streets with the bridge project, it is not feasible to go forward with also ripping up all of South Street. Plus, there isn't enough money at this time to be able to do that. So 25,000 is the seed money for design work. This 25,000 would be offset by CHIPS money coming in.
I'm sorry. I just was looking at one quick thing. I'm so sorry. Can we just move back just for one quick question on the law fees, legal fees?
Yes, ma'am.
Just really quickly.
No problem.
It's the contractual Zoglin PCP, and there's nothing budgeted.
That's correct. That is the number that she had given me. So I don't know. That's an arrangement that the village board has with all the attorneys. That's what she reflected. It could be that she has that money sitting in the LWRP, or it could be that Hudson Ross is only doing the work at this point and she's done with that. I don't know. That's a follow-up question, I think, for Mindy.
Yeah, it definitely is, because I mean, right now our two boards negotiating, you know, in other words, they're still working on this.
I get
But
what you're saying.
That's in reference to the LWRP
Exclusive,
work,
okay.
right?
Okay.
Dan Lilly, someone who was in the earlier meetings, I believe that's where we ended up with that, because that's the only, there's no non-LWRP PCP work left for Mindy, I believe. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
That could be accurate. I'm just thinking along the same lines, though. Perhaps if the village board's legal fees aren't if the 30,000 is already padded there, we might want to look more at Zoglin and other legal fees for the boards that are still in litigation to increase those amounts to be appropriate.
Then can I have someone follow through with Mindy to, verify her numbers or come up with some sort of plan so that we can do this, at least make it effective for next week's budget?
Yeah, I'll give her a call.
All right. And
Mary, we actually have a week after that as well.
What is the preference
it's a week after that? Oh, all right. That's even better. I'm thinking the meeting is on Tuesday next week. So
it's the 27th.
Yeah, I don't know what date it is. It was less than days.
So a question for the team. It feels to me that obviously good accounting practice says that you match the expense with the line item, with the category. So the 75 Monroe stuff that Mindy is going to address, would you rather have it categorized as LWRP or as PCP or a little bit of both? What's the best way to do it?
That's a good point, because the LWRP that you are referencing is not a general work, as I understand, on the LWRP. It is specific to ongoing negotiations with PCP.
That came out of the LWRP, yes.
Right,
Right.
right. So is she working on the LWRP or is she working on PCP?
And my first take on this would be that it should be split out to the PCP part, if that's really what it's in reference to for transparency of the budget, and LWRP, if that's a standing line item, should be for new cases that come up related to the LWRP consistency review, that kind of thing. But maybe
Yeah, that's a good point, Justin. I think this is specific to PCP. So if anything, it should say PCP LWRP. I mean, maybe that would help.
Yeah.
It should be reflected in PCP. I agree with Justin too.
Yeah.
Then whoever speaks with Mindy, can
That
you
would be-
please find, that would be you? Okay. Can you please find out what she's using for a client number file? Because I've got these set out by client number file. So it's like 19-120 or whatever it is that she's using. And
Okay.
then I can back that in or correct it on here and eliminate the other one. Well, that one will still stay for another year, but regardless, we'll put it to make sure that it goes to the correct category so there's no confusion. Because last year I had a lot of, all of these were combined. So this year's budget, I split out a lot of this stuff so that it would be easier for the board to track. And I like to continue this practice. So you can say to yourselves, we spent 50,000 or 75,000, whatever, on the LWRP portion of whatever we're working on. So that would be greatly helpful at my end. And I could, if I can fit it in, put those client numbers into the description, if I can get it in there.
Okay.
So I have one other question about how we're managing the legal fees, particularly with PCP. So right now we've accounted, these estimates that we received from Zoglin and from Osborne Reed from Hodgson Russ are based on the litigation that much of which has already been resolved. What happens if they come back with something new? The legal fees that are incurred by our various boards, do we have enough to cover that? That's a nebulous question because we don't know what's gonna happen. But we're looking at this from a current litigation standpoint, as far as the PCP stuff.
That's where when we asked for the quotes from the attorneys, they're making their guesstimate of how much, whatever these things are. And I'm bill, and they have a client number and I bill against that. So I am assuming, and maybe wrongly, that is what they're doing at their end as well. I could also follow up with their bookkeeper as far as how they're handling it. But I just need to be clear on all aspects of it. And that would be, an important factor to put in.
Yeah, this is our most, just the trickiest part of the budget. So it feels like we went through this before when we got the estimates, and much of anything new that would be coming in should be included in their estimates for their regular work with the various boards, including a big project if it did come through. So it would just be good. Maybe we need to go back and double check and look at those estimates to make sure we're comfortable with them.
Okay. I'm
May I
looking
make
at-
a comment?
Who's the question? Oh, Justin.
Oh, Justin?
Yes.
Justin is looking to make a comment.
Sure.
So just as a reminder to the board, we have the ability to charge back consultant fees for large projects to the applicants, and attorney fees should be one of those things. And I don't know why, I don't want to say much about the particular project, but I don't know why discussions are ongoing at residents' expense about new applications. That seems to be something that could be chargeable back to an applicant. I understand defending litigation, I understanding things like that. So I would encourage you to figure out when it's reasonable to charge back attorney fees to an applicant.
That would be
I
a
know if
question for attorney.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I know if I've been told that an applicant has chargeback monies that need to go back to that person, we have billed them back, but there hasn't been a whole lot in recent years. I mean, I can't think of anything application specific right now.
Justin, thank you. It's a really good point. Thank you.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think there's some very substantial blunders have been made in that regard. And so I don't know where that needs to go moving forward, but I know when we had the Shane Place application in to look at, we knew that was going to be a fairly sizable project. On the planning board, we asked for consultant fees. They declined to pay it. So we said, no, your application's incomplete. We're not going forward with anything until you can get us some funding for consultants. So I think the trustees had additional discussions with their attorneys, but I think it takes good discipline on the boards to not dial up the attorneys if they're not funded on large projects. So I think it's a better approach to just not use the attorneys until they're funded.
Oh, good point. We'll talk with the attorneys about it. Thank you. Okay. Yep.
It seems like there is a provision in our code for the chargeback of those fees, including attorney fees, and it seems like I can't recall the previous wording of that or if that was included, but it might be stronger in the new zoning code as well. So just something to keep in mind.
As long as I'm aware that I'm supposed to be charging back, or the office is supposed to be charging back for a particular application, we go ahead and we have done that. So I just need to be made aware that that is what needs to take place, because I'm not sitting in on any of those boards and I don't follow any of the meetings. So
Understood. We'll
you know,
we'll pick up on this. Thank you. Yep, understood. Okay, let's keep going.
So now
All
on
right.
South.
South Street, the 1440.42, that was the 25,000 for design work offset by CHIPS money. Go ahead.
Yeah, so a question. So I understand, yeah, we're not going to do this work this year. Somebody refresh my memory. I want to say that the last time we looked at this, the work was going to cost about $250,000. That back in the napkin, is that right?
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay. Just sort of thinking for the future. That's all I needed. Thanks.
Yes. Also, depending on how much money we have for that American Rescue Plan, not in this first year, but in the second, that might be a little bit of money that could be applied against that project or a portion of that project to help offset the costs. So that's also to keep in the back of your mind when you go to do the budget the following year.
Yeah, also,
right.
I just want to make note of the fact that, well, and Justin's, in the meeting, Justin Bleedstra sent an email, saying regarding the design fees, the town has an engineer, and because we do have an intermunicipal agreement, for services to be exchanged and for collaboration, is there a possibility to make a request of the town? They use the road, we're all sharing things, possibly to provide the design, design review for us or whatever. So well, I'm putting that out there for the board if there's any thoughts or comments on that. I'm happy to speak with the supervisor, certainly. Yes,
Can I speak on that?
sure.
So part of the $25,000 for the design fee, I believe, also had site management for the project to be completed also. So
Yeah.
that may that cost of the $25,000 may decrease. It's just design that they will be doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also we're getting it through chips, so bit of a
Yeah.
wash.
Well, hopefully,
Yeah.
always. Remind me, Elisa, when you're in the office, should I forget, I have a copy of a draft that was prepared last year regarding this project that you might like to review to give you an
That would
idea of
be
what we're talking about. Okay.
And if any other board members would like to see that as well, I think that would be great.
Yes, that would be absolutely fine. I'll be happy to share it. I know
Yeah.
I have shared it before. It was a write-up that Trustee Galusha had done up with Zach from their discussions with an engineer who did take a look at things for us at one time. So I will forward that to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Elections, I always throw in some money for election officers. That's in case we have to have a special election throughout the year, other than on cycle stuff that happens. That's that. Records management, this is money for Sophie for working in the office. On the upstairs, the records archive, there's a little bit of money there for her conference costs that she may need to stay on top of what she's doing. Under building, a lot of these 1620.1, these are DPW categories. They're wages that I had dispersed out with Zach's advice. So that is kind of a non-negotiable item. It kind of just depends on, what he's guesstimating is going to happen in that particular category over the year. I do shift money around, but it's all within the same wage field, so it's that part's fine. Village Hall, 1620.4, that is monies for a new furnace, signs, and there was something else on there. Hold on.
Oh. I have it.
Is it the lighting?
Your
The light-
cameras?
No,
No.
and cameras.
Security?
Yes,
Security
it was
cameras.
it was the cameras.
Cameras.
There it is. Yeah, it was the cameras. So, $1,200 for the notice boards. $1,200 for the notice boards, $9,000 for the heater, and $3,200 basically for the security camera. All right.
Well, we had
And
spoken about, the notice boards, the one going outside on the front porch, and maybe starting with just the one, so we can even half that cost just for this first year of the budget. We had talked about that.
okay, did you want me to?
Well, I'm bringing it
Leave it-
for the board, in other words, there was a thought to have one as you come up the ramp to the side door, there'd be one up
Right.
against the building outside. Then there will be another one on the front porch, and they're both like $600 a piece. And, my thought was we could save $600 just by having the one on the front porch. And then as you come in on the side door, we could have the posted bulletin board right there as you come in. And at least it saves $600 that we can put to something else. Just for-
I could make that move if you wanted me to drop that category by $600 and put the money into contingency for right now, unless we need it someplace else as we kind of go through this budget.
I'm okay with just trying one. We don't have anything right now out there.
No, there's nothing out there now. We can put that out there. The bulletin board where the postings are in the hallway can, certainly be moved towards the back door or somewhere else, to make it more visible for people walking in that door. If we want to have two different locations for posting, I just think it's a simpler fix, and we can put $600 somewhere else.
Okay. Okay to move on?
Sure.
1620.42 Village Hall Mats and Cleaning. We've increased this number by almost twice from what we've had in last year, and that's due to the pandemic. For our possible opening, we would need cleaning of the office much more often than what we have right now. Right now, it's once a week. Dorothea was thinking we should move this up to 3 times a week once we have the public in the building. So that is where that additional cost has come in. 5,000 for the highway department. That's not covering anything in particular. It is covering just something that may come up, like a broken garage door or some electrical or something that they might have to have, and just giving you some money into the category. Special items, all of those are basically non-negotiable items. Our municipal dues, it's NICOM, our association with them. FOPV settlement, that's our second payment. Those are due out June 1st. Hudson and Ross agreement, that is from not this year, but the year prior. We had a little bit of a cash flow issue. Hudson Ross was willing to hold out the bills for us, and then we had then entered into an agreement. We had entered into an agreement to pay whatever that year's worth of bills were with them. So our now balance for this year of a second third would be the 25,000. And
Okay, so
Danny
hold
has
on one second, Mary, before you go on. So for the other trustees, just so you know, it wasn't a cash flow issue. The prior administration told them not to bill us for like a year. We have no idea why. All of a sudden, we got a year's worth of bills. We then created a payment plan, and I think it's at 0% interest, but it just spreads it out over. It's either 2 or 3.
that is correct.
Yeah, and it's over 2 or 3 years.
3
so
years.
we're actually paying fiscal, I think it's 18-19 bills that we never got.
Oh.
So it wasn't
that
a
is
cash
correct. It's
flow
19.
issue. It was a bad decision. So just want to be clear.
Okay.
Is the follow-up question on that, is the payment plan and the terms of that plan written and agreed upon by both parties?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. If you want to take a look at it, I'm sure somebody could pull it for you, but it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And the intention also, just as an aside from this year, is if we did have leftover money, if we were in a good enough cash position and had leftover monies within the Hudson category, then we could.
I have to take a phone call. I'll be right back.
Okay. Then we could apply more monies against that payment plan to help reduce our costs for, to help reduce those bills. But that was the outstanding plan, right, which we had done at the beginning of this fiscal year. We had sent out an additional 75,000 and helped reduce those costs. So instead of having a $50,000 payment coming out, we had 25,000. So that's where that one sits.
We can toss in the $600 from the sign we're not doing.
Oh, sure.
That'll help.
That'll help.
Sorry,
go
just
ahead. Who's got a question?
I had one other question. So the agreement is formalized, and that sounds good. As far as the accounting, it sounds like that's essentially a kind of an outstanding debt. So is that recorded properly in the budgets as a form of outstanding debt for the legal agreement?
It is. These are the codes that I had run. Well, I had put it in the law category initially, and the accountants had told me no, that it is a special item and it does need to be reflected under debts. And that's what this category here is a
Great.
special debt circumstance.
Gotcha.
And
Thank
that's
you.
how it would be reported to our end of year annual update document. Okay.
Great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Under 1990.4 contingency account, this is where we have $30,079 in there. We could throw the 600 in here or anywhere else you might like. But that's for any item that does come up that is not planned or we know anything about at this time, you know, while we're developing the budget. All right.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
Didn't miss anything. 3320.1 personnel services. These are wages for Mikey, the parking monitor. And 500 is for any clothing expense, generally speaking, that he may have. 3620.1 personnel services. This is for Steve, and his is also split between general and sewer. His conference money and clothing that he would need, and then Tylen for any special application that Steve should not be involved in, basically. And so $2,000 isn't a whole lot of money, but it is just a little seed money in case we do need it. That's that. 5020.4 road work, 28,100. 5020, let me just go back here. That is for crack sealing half of the village, lawn restoration at 28 Monroe, and I know the crew has done some work on that. I don't know how much is left to do, but in any case, we had 3,500 in there. And for the replacement of speed humps on Boughton Avenue for 2,100. That takes care of the 28-1.
Zach, is that enough? I know that area keeps, like, it's a little dodgy and that we don't know how much more it's going to wash out. Is that enough to handle that project on Monroe?
20 Monroe is done at this point, so any washout that happens, we'll just go back and band-aid it. So there shouldn't be any more expenses.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so then I have the bigger question, Zach. Is this 3,500 that I'm holding in this account still, should I still be holding it or should I apply this elsewhere?
I'm sure we can find a place for it if you want to hang on to it.
That's fine. I want to make sure you're padded. So if for what you may need at your end.
Yeah. Everything that I presented was bare bones of what we need without really accounting for any surprises that may come up. So any additional money in there is going to be spent, I'm sure.
Okay, I'm
But
sure.
If it's needed somewhere else, then you got to do what you got to do.
Okay. 5110.2 is 11,000. That is for 2 speed sentries, per the quotes that we did receive, which are good through June 30th. That's that. Under 5110.4, it is our regular, whatever needs to be fixed on the vehicles category, plus an additional $8,000 to replace the Case 321F tires. That's that. Any questions so far?
I do. I want to talk about the speed sentries. You know how much I love them. Two, I want to just make sure that we're okay committing to 2. We talked about that before and why 2 is better than 1. Zach, how much longer will our other one hold out? Do you think it's going to keep operating for a while longer, the one that we currently have, even though I know it's subpar because it gives us a 10 mile range?
Well, it serves a purpose of showing people speed when they're going over the speed limit. And I think collecting the data, if it's unnecessary on that device, we can still use it for showing speed. The batteries can be replaced whenever. That's the nice thing about this. The one that we have is the batteries can be replaced without having to tear the unit apart. The ones that we would get from Custom Signals, if those are the ones we opted for, they are a sealed unit. I don't know about replacing the batteries in those yet. The old one that we currently have, I think it should last a while unless something electric goes inside of the computer,
Okay.
which I don't
we
think
need
would
to,
be
but
supported. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I was going to say I don't think parts are available for that anymore. So once
Okay.
that goes, I may be able to find something, but I'm not too sure about it.
Zach, you mentioned, oh, Lily, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to remind the board that the quote is only good until June. The quote that 11,000 would cover. So you might want to consider ordering them before the June date, even though we have a functioning one currently, or semi-functioning. Only because that's how long the price might go up in July and August. So I just like to point that out to the board.
The quote is good through June 30th. So as long as we order it June 1, anytime during the month of June will be fine. Sooner the better to acknowledge the quote. It says it specifically on there. I would be hesitant to incorporate it into this year's budget since it wasn't a budgeted item. I'd have to look a little bit more closely at the categories that we do have open to see if I could make a budget amendment to reflect the change for $6,000.
But if we order on June 1st,
5,500.
it goes to our new budget.
Right, if 50, it would go into our new budget and they're guaranteeing that price for us.
Right. So
through
we're not
June
losing
30th.
anything by just waiting until June.
Correct. As
Yeah.
long as, we can handle it without having the need for it till then.
Right. I do have a question, Zach, because you mentioned that the new units are sealed. So what happens when the battery goes? Like how do we
Well,
maintain?
I'm sure we could tear it apart to find the battery and get a replacement battery for it. It's just a little more complicated than the one that we currently have. And this is something I could probably talk to Custom Signals about, because I'm sure they're going to support the unit that we buy from them.
Yeah.
If we trade off of them for years. So
Yeah, I mean, I
should be-
think it'd be helpful to get that information. Yeah, definitely.
Yep. I also just want to make sure that we do want to get units that are movable rather than fixed ones that would be operating off of solar power, right?
Well, this is a previous discussion with the previous board. So if people want to fill Justin and me in, I don't have that much information at this point.
We have two different quotes.
Okay.
So we could send that around because we can do that offline. I think we left it up to, if I recall correctly, someone else jump in if I'm incorrect, left it up to Zach to kind of help us figure out whether we needed one that moved around or was stationary because of how we use them and because the DPW is in charge of maintaining these. And we can't have a solar one if it's going to move around, correct?
Correct. Also, there's an additional expense that goes along with the solar operated one that would be fixed in place, include a post to mount it to, and also the solar panel and the electrics that would go towards charging the battery. The one thing about moving, the ones that do get moved around, it's different than the one that we currently have. The one that we currently have, I can swap the batteries out while it's still in place. So the only downtime of the unit is just while I'm swapping batteries or moving it from place to place. These ones would have to come into the shop, and it usually takes about a day or so for them to charge. So that's the time that they would be off the road. But they can be just the days that they would be charged, alternating. So we always have one of them on the road.
Okay.
I feel strongly that I'd like to see these I do think we need 2 of them based on all the input that we've received from our residents about speeding and how much these help. And, it's our biggest issue. And given that we don't have jurisdiction over the speediest roads, because those are under NISDOT jurisdiction, this is one thing we can put out that they'll allow that can help us as we slowly make steps towards more people-friendly streets. But I wanted to put that out there because I think last night it was described as 1 unit, and I wanted to make sure everyone knew it was 2, or everyone knew it would be 2 units, and then we could discuss to make sure that you thought 2 was fine.
Yeah, Justin?
So, I'm sorry,
I
go
just
ahead.
had just a quick question. I mean, solar panels are so small right now, and it sounds pretty inconvenient to have to bring these back to the DPW to trickle charge a 12-volt battery or something, if that's what you're talking about. Because I imagine you have to tow them back to you.
No, they're not tow behind. They're just small boxes, 18
Oh, okay.
inches. So
Okay.
yeah, easy enough to get back and forth.
So that's why they don't mount a solar panel on them or anything. You just throw them in the truck and bring them back and charge them, huh?
Correct.
Okay, great. Yeah, that was my question is, have we looked at ones with solar panels mounted, but it makes sense that if they're so small, they still wouldn't do that. So,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you.
So I did get an updated quote from Custom Signals, and this is off of New York State contract. The unit itself is 2,728. I think I had included that in my my report from yesterday, but maybe the quote didn't make it on there. There are options that come along with it. One is a tablet designated solely for retrieving the data. An additional battery, so apparently the battery can be swapped out pretty quick. Spare mounting kits, which I would highly suggest, because the mounting kits are which take the most time to change locations for. So if we can have multiple mounting kits set up throughout the village, and it's just a matter of pulling the unit off the mount, and then just dropping it off at the next one. Those are $125 a piece. A carrying case, which is probably not necessary, that's $135 a piece. And that's really it that they would offer outside of that. But for $2,700 and $28, that's the unit. That's the cost of the unit off the state contract.
Zach, sorry, just one more follow-up question on this. The mounting kit, does that prevent theft somehow? Because it sounds like if they're $2,700 and you can toss them in the back of a truck, they might.
Well, anything can be tossed in the back of the truck with the right tool. They are locked with a key to the mount, but again, I mean, it all depends on how determined someone is to take it.
Okay.
So if we budgeted $11,000, we could probably get 4 of these and all the mounts that we would need.
Zach, I think we probably should take a look at that because I think it was 1 unit was 5,500. And I don't know if we're looking at apples to apples. That's my only concern.
That could have been with the solar mount. So the post, the solar panel, the electrics for charging the battery, and the hardware that would go along with it. But just for the exact unit that we had borrowed for the last month or 3 months, they're quoting $2,700.
Yeah, why don't we, we're getting into a certain level of detail, I think, on this that, may be better served in another, another discussion, just because we are sort of trying to keep moving on the budget, but it's all good information. We at least have the category defined and we know we need something. So.
Perfect, thank you.
Sorry.
Yep.
Okay, all right, we're ready to move forward.
Yep.
5132.4 is kind of a catch-all category for everything that's needed at the DPW, including conference costs, telephone expense, clothing, some benefit kind of things. It's also including $2,000 for toolboxes and equipment rentals that Zach is anticipating over the year. So that is also monies that is split between the two funds. All right, moving on. 5142.4 salt contract. I've got $9,000 in. I don't have a good guesstimate on that. We won't get a bill from the town for our salt for this year for probably another couple of weeks. So I'm kind of just going by our best guess over here. Last year was 7,600. We had a year that it was 12,000. It kind of depends on how heavy our winter is. So 9,000 was kind of a good kind of number, mid number. 5182.4, this is village-wide street lighting. That's for everything that lights up the streets from RG&E. The repairs, 3,500 is vendor costs for like pole replacement or bulbs or that sort of item. 5410.4, we started out with having monies for State Street and Schoen, but due to the bridge project and the timing of everything that was going to be done at that time, it was decided that we should postpone having any work done on Schoen Place as far as sidewalks were concerned until that project portion was done. So what we did is just leave enough money in there for just minor fix and repair for any sidewalks that come up, concrete costs. 7110.4, we have 23,000. So the 23,000 is to include a new message board at South Street and East Jefferson Road. New decking on the West Pavilion by Aladdin's, that was 7,000. And then our usual streetscape flowers, wreaths, and also for the State Street corridor, we had $2,500 set aside for benches. These are also going to be donor benches. So this is just reflecting the expense on this side. Donor benches monies will be reflected on the revenue side as well. That's what we're anticipating. Let me see.
You know, one thing that I think we should look into, you know, just as benches are donated, and I know Canandaigua does this, is to have flowers underwritten perhaps by businesses or, you know, residents or clubs or something in the village. It's a nice thing to do. I do know one year, all of the urns on the four corners were donated, you know, by businesses and by villagers. Do you have any thoughts on that? Yeah.
They are, for the past 2 years, the Garden Club of Pittsford have funded the urns at the Four Corners.
Well,
And there's a little sign reflecting that.
That's great. And then I'm wondering if we could get somebody to donate, like I know in Canandaigua, I can't remember which bank, for one year they did flowers for like half of their main street. And then I think Wegmans maybe did the other half. They underwrote them. I'm thinking that might be a good program to look into because we'll save several thousand. Thoughts? None. Okay.
I'm sorry, I was distracted there for a second.
Well,
We were talking about the donor flowers and donor flowers. Is that where we were? Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's a way to say. What did we spend on flowers anyway? Just so we kind of have
I think it's about $4,500 a year.
I think that's combination, Mary, both the wreaths and the flowers. I think the flowers were, if that includes the baskets and the liners and the replacement chains when needed.
Yes.
I think it was about 3,000. And then the other was for the wreaths.
All right, you know what? I'll
take $3,000 to get them.
I'll have to look at back on the for sure from the history, but
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm remembering.
Okay,
So
that'd be great because I think that's something we could look into. It's another way to
That's a
money's-
great idea, and maybe you can advertise it through, you know, your newsletter article or something.
Sure.
Okay. Moving on. Moving on, let's see, 7550.4. Candlelight night and regatta, we got $3,000 in there, which is minimal money, and just in case we open for, to the public during that time. And it would be costs that are to do with the regatta, porta potties, basically, and anything else that comes up out of that.
You know, I
But
just want to
it's
say,
minimal monies.
yep, sorry, Mary, sorry to interrupt. I just want to say I met with Bill Smith last week, and, you know, they're not going to hold the regatta, you know, when they do on Memorial Day, but they are looking potentially at holding the regatta maybe later in the summer or even in September. Nothing's definite, but, you know, that's out there in the universe.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, yeah,
That's good to know. I mean, as life tries to go back to normal,
yeah.
maybe. All right, 8010.4, 8020.4. These are all for services for the planning and zoning board, for the people that sit on the boards, and for their conference costs, should there be any associated for them. Let's see what else. We had $7,500 in there for bridge project for any kind of planning that would be needed. And if it wasn't needed, the thought was that it would roll into the consultant's other. GIS collaborative, the 3,400, that is per agreement with the town. I think there's another, I think it's 2 more years on that agreement. 8030.1 is for the HPB board members. Again, that's their stipends. 8170.1, that's our
Hey,
crew wages.
Sorry, just for the sake of Justin and maybe Elisa, all of you guys may already know this. Forgive me if I'm explaining something you already know. All of the .1 accounts are labor. So you've got a big, and the way the budget is done, Mary does a great job. At first she takes all of the labor and puts it into one account, and then divvies, and we kind of agree on that, and then she divvies it out to the right place so that the work being done matches the category. So it's quite possible that somebody is in a few different places, like Sophie's in a few different places. I bet Steve is in a few different places, that kind of thing. So all of the .1 accounts work like that. Just want to make sure everybody was clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. 8540.4 drainage work, that's for Locust, Rand Creek, North Main Street, possibly Washington. We have issues that are infrastructure issues that are out there, erosion issues with the creek. So we're trying to have some work done to remedy that. At 45,000 may be enough for this year. And if we might have to use American Rescue money if there is further issues with Rand Creek, but that, I think we should cover it from estimates that we did get. All right. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thoughts in here. 8560.4, 4,000 for new tree purchases throughout the year for replacement of damaged or dead trees. Maintenance is having Jim Edwards come out to do any stump grinding, taking the trees out, that sort of.
May I interject something here? Mary, excuse me for interrupting. Yeah, about, you know, tree purchases, and Zach and I were talking about this too. It's another opportunity, you know, and I want to run this by everybody. You know, we have the bench program where you can buy a bench, you know, and it's a donation that you make for the bench. And I think that'd be a good program to do for trees, that you can dedicate a tree and it's planted in the village. And it's a way for us to offset the expenses for our street trees. And we can also start, as trees die out, you know, make sure we're putting in natives and pollinators and things that are more sustainable for us. So I want to throw that out to the board because again, you know, it's another opportunity, I think, to reach out to the community, and it's a nice thing to donate a tree. Yeah, Lil.
Yeah, we did advertise that. I think it was last year and the year before in the
Mhm.
newsletter. And I had one response, and then the person who responded never did follow through with it. I mean, she never
Okay. Yeah,
contacted me. But we have put that out there because that's a great idea.
yeah.
And I think we could decide on a little plaque and decide where they're going to go. And I think people would like to have a tree dedicated to someone.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think maybe we can, you know, beef it up somehow. You could, you know, maybe in addition to the
Yeah,
newsletter or something else. Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
yeah. Any other thoughts from people just before we move on? All good? Okay. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Employee benefits, those are employee benefits strictly to do with staff that we have now. Again, these costs are all split between the sewer fund and the general fund. Bond anticipation notes, that's our payment, that will come out in May 2022, for 53,500. So we have in the revenues $9,000 to offset this $53,000. That is the last of the money that we had, and was the only way we could expend the money was to pay down the debt. We couldn't apply it towards another road project or anything of that nature. It's kind of forbidden by the bond. So that's that. We have the sweeper lease and the 2019 lease, Ford truck lease. Those are non-negotiables for a few years.
And Mary, also just getting back to the bond, we're in our 6th year of payment on a 10-year bond.
Correct.
Yeah.
Let
Okay.
me just go back here too for one other thing. Yes, 6 of the 10 years on the bond.
Okay.
Now I lost the last page. Doesn't it figure? I think it's like, where is it? Hold on. Hang on one second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Guys,
here
I
it is.
have a hard stop in about 20 minutes.
Okay, we should be done. The Brav sweeper, we're in year 4 of a 10-year repayment. The Ford F450, we're in year 1 of a 5-year repayment plan. So that's just to give you an idea of where we're standing. All right. Last items were the transfers to the capital funds. At this time, the only real reserve that we have on the general fund is the general repair reserve, which carries about 163,500 in there, generally speaking. I made mention of this to you last night. So we were looking to put 5,000 in just to keep the till moving. The other items that we have here are things that we've talked about before, and we're hoping to establish reserves for these particular items. It just never materialized, and this budget didn't have enough money to be able to support seed money there unless the board sees anything different in the budget, like the 600.
Well, we've got to start somewhere, you know. I think it's
Right.
important.
All right. And there was just one other thing I wanted to back up because I thought of something as I was going through these sheets. Back to the log category. I remember when we got the numbers from Mindy and Hudson for the PCP lawsuit, I think it was.
Mhm.
Both of them provided us numbers, and the numbers that they had provided for us were dramatically different. And so we went with the lower number, which was Hudson, which was at 30,000, was I think less than 30,000. But in any case, I think hers was like 35,000 or something. I've got the paperwork. I can forward that on to everybody so you know what I'm talking about. So that's why we retracted it out of the picture, because it would be a duplication of work, of billing on that. So it didn't make any sense. But I did forget about it, and I could forward that over to everybody so that you know what I'm talking about. All right, so that's just
Okay.
that's that. Let me see. On to the revenues. Real property tax and in lieu of property tax, both of those are flat. There's no change to those. Monroe County sales tax, I went by what we have budgeted and what we were anticipating also in May and came up with the $516,000 figure, which is still considerably less than what we even brought in pre-pandemic, which was $581,497. And that would have had a 3% increase onto this year's budget. Again, another 3% for this upcoming year. But considering where we're at, the 516 is a fairly conservative, low number, still working with the decrease in sales tax that is being suggested. Departmental income, the clerk fees, zoning fees, those are all application driven. So however many come in, that is their application fee money that is applied here. And the same holds true under licenses and permits. Those are any building permits under 2555 and 2590 that come through for as a result of those applications that are seen before the board. Parking tickets, 6,000. Those are basically monies that we turn over to what Mikey generates. They get paid, we turn over to the town then sends it on an audit trail, comes back to us. We're anticipating about 6,000. He's been pretty successful, takes pictures of everything. So there's no question about anything being thrown out. So that's very helpful. Scrap money is just scrap money. We're not anticipating selling out any of our equipment where we would observe, capture any kind of money. No insurance recoveries at this time. The donor money here under 2770, 2,500, that is the 2,500 that's a wash with the benches from the 7110 category.
Mhm.
State aid, New York State AIM. It's a general purpose aid money. We've got 9319 coming. This is where I've just heard rumor, but I don't know what the final number is. I should find that out probably within the next few weeks. But they're saying that this number could increase by 7 times for the reflection of that American Rescue Plan. If that's the case, and it's supposed to be split over a 2-year period. So if that's the case, at that point, the board can make a decision to incorporate that money as a budget amendment with associated expenses to go along with that. Mortgage tax, this was a surprise here this year for us. Last year when we were preparing the budget and in view of the pandemic and we were adjusting for all the revenues, we didn't think people were going to move. We kind of thought that they might stay put because of where we were with finances and everything. So we lowered our expectation for this category. As it turned out, our normal bills, our number of revenue is like 36,000 like we had collected in the year prior. The payment that we received this December was for 25,582, which exceeded our 18.5 budget number from the modified budget. So going with that, we're still going to have another about 12,000 that will be applied against this, that we won't see it until June. So given that, I brought the number back up to 37,000, thinking it was a fairly good call on that. CHIPS money, I've received notification that we will be reinstated again with the same funds. I don't have an exact number. They are supposed to be sending out a letter at the end of this week to let us know what our new allocation will be. And it will not be, I know they're doing a holdback on some of the money, but it won't be available. I won't know the formula until May at the earliest. But 25,000 should be available fairly, for at least most of it. That said, 5031 interfund transfer, the 9082, that is the money coming back off what's left off that bond that I just spoke about a few minutes ago, where we have a payment this coming year for 53.5. So that will offset a little bit of those monies, and it'll close out that fund. So all we'll need to do at that point is just deal with the bond repayment. That's it for revenues. That brings us up to 1,583,898, which equal out the expenses for the same. Any other questions on the general fund? Statements, comments, concerns? Good to move over to the sewer.
Okay.
All right. With the sewer fund, we have 395,312 in expenses. Most of the money's coming from sewer rents, which is 278,664. We're looking to appropriate fund balance in this particular case for 116,648. And this is, the fund balance is basically a big savings pocket that we have of everything once we have it leftover monies. And it's been collecting quite a bit of funds in there. This is an appropriate use of the money. And so we pulled 116 to get that taken care of. And to go into the breakdown of the expenses, Monroe County Coalition dues come out of this fund. We have money set aside for engineering in case we have any kind of sewer issue that does require the engineer. 5110.1 is part of the split services that we have between general and sewer, and that is mainly Zach's services and any crew time. 5110.49 flush truck repairs is a small chunk of change to apply to fix and repair that truck. Replacement of that particular vehicle is about around 280,000 or more.
Ouch.
Yes, it's a biggie. Zach, how old is ours when we have? I know that I think it's old.
20 years.
It's 20 years old. It's just
Wow.
a baby. We drive them to the ground.
Yep.
8110.1 is administrative costs. It's basically office staff working under the sewer budget. 8110.4 contractual, that's for anything that I need for like postage and forms, that sort of thing, off for the, those little sewer cards. 8120.1, it's guys working in the sewer. 31,200, what the heck did I put into there? It's just regular contractual stuff, and I can't think of what it is now. I don't know, just kind of escaped me. The big one though is the 8120.41, which is the CIPP sewer lining. That is anticipated cost of 139,000. That is to take care of all of Sutherland and a portion of South Street. And that is where Zach had explained to you what it was last night. In the process, utilities, employee benefits, non-negotiable stuff. That is the one I said it's split between the general and the sewer. Dropping down to the interfund, we have reserves that are on the general sewer fund, and it goes to different pockets, whatever. So we're just putting a little bit of money, again, seed money, into each of these items. The only one that I do not have set up at the bank at this point, and we've been hoping to try to do this a couple of years in a row, is a facilities reserve. And but that is the only one. And when we do set it up after discussion, we can actually put in more than 5,000, but that is where we ended up. So those are expenses totaling 395,312. And the revenues, like I said earlier, mostly generated, it says total department income 277,164. That's coming from the collection of sewer rents that we have, we collect throughout the year, and a little bit of money coming off our reserves. And in this particular year, we are looking to apply 116,648 of appropriated fund balance to make ends meet on this fund. If you may recall from last night when I had said, when I was talking about the sewer fund, I had stated that we had an unreserved sewer fund balance of about $670,000. So the 116,000 would be taken off that balance is a good use of that money. It's going back into the infrastructure for which the
Mhm.
residents are paying for. So that said, that would bring our revenues up to 395, 312. And that's it for what we have in the budget here going forward.
Mary?
All right. So at this point for me, unless there's any other kind of changes of any significance, this would be the budget going forward to be adopted on April 27th. And the out that you have is that if there's anything of significance like the American Rescue Plan that comes in, we could always amend the budget for that,
Great.
as long as it's not huge expenses.
Mhm.
That could be a problem
Mary,
because it would be tax revenue that we would be looking at.
Mhm.
Okay.
Justin?
yeah, I just had a couple of questions here, starting with the sewer, since that's where we ended up in the presentation. And thank you very much, Mary, for putting this all together. To go back to the comptroller follow-up, and I think that's a very helpful report that they prepared in February that we could really use as a basis to make positive changes. It does mention that village officials have not adjusted sewer rents to correspond with the actual annual cost of sewer services provided. And so there was that that mention in the report. And I was just wondering if the sewer rents that are up on the page right now correspond with changes that we've made to reflect those comments from the comptroller. That's my first question.
I'm going to say the short answer to that is no. And the reason because it is a no is because we are looking to be building up our sewer reserve. What we need to do is another issue on the sewer fund. We've been trying to get to this and it's been piecemeal, but it has never been completed. And the bottom line to that is we're looking to compile a disaster relief reserve so that if we have a major collapse that happens within the village, one small collapse could cost us over $1 million.
Right.
The unreserved fund monies that we have right now is 670. Taking some of that money, which is what they're also clipping on, is a good use of that money. What we really need to do is work out the mechanics of it. If we take out a portion of the 670 and apply it into a reserve, the issue for them goes away because we have a structured use for it. The issue of, we're not overtaxing the residents for that purpose. The reason we're doing it is to build up that fund. So we just need to fix that mechanism. But for me, the drawback has always been we need to have a good thought out plan as to how we go forward into the future, because once we put monies into a reserve, it's locked for the purpose that it is intended. We can't just take it out and use it whenever. So I would like to, we need to sit down, a couple of people or the board or whatever, and come up with a plan that we think is feasible going out forward to eliminate that issue. That is the big thing, but it has to, we have to kind of figure out where we're going. So even if we took half of that money, it would be like, let's say 300,000. It would be a helpful thing, but it is 700,000 short of one break. So, I mean, we're kind of like juggling at both ends. The other thing is that the money that sits there right now is easily accessible. If we had Main Street collapse, I can go to the bank the next day and take the money and use it. If once it's in a reserve, depending on how it's written, it could end up going through permissive referendum, which means it would have to have the villagers vote on whether or not we could take the money out of that fund. So you got to be careful on how that is set up. And that's why I'm kind of, we need to talk about it. It needs to be done, but it needs to have careful consideration as to how this is supposed to be incorporated
Yeah, I'd like to
moving
speak to
forward.
that. I'd like to, thanks a lot for that. I'd like to speak to that. I think we have to do something. It's clear we have to do something. So I think going forward, Mary, you had mentioned that there had been something prepared a while back by, was it Tim Galley?
Right. It's lovingly referred to as the Galley Plan. And yes, I will get you a copy of all that.
So
It
what
is,
I'd like,
I think it's referred to into the comptroller's audit too as the Galley Plan.
okay, the Galley Plan. Well, at least it's a starting point that, there has been some work done in the past. It's at least a place to begin. And so, Mary, maybe you and Dorothea and I can kind of pull some of these things together, and whether we end up doing maybe a workshop, with the board, and also obviously Jeff Turner's going to have to craft language, help us with
Correct.
that. But at least let's start putting these pieces in place in anticipation of our future. I think we need to do this. This has been talked about for a really long time.
Yeah, it is an absolute. It does need to be taken care of one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's a relatively
we can
easy
only
fix.
fund it-
And
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we can only fund as much as we can,
Right.
So we have to be realistic, but we've got to start somewhere.
Right. And right now actually the sewer fund is in a very good position where we can put a good seed pocket in, but we need to contribute to that. So that's
Right.
another portion of the plan. I got lots of thoughts about that whole thing, but we need to sit down and do that. And yes, it probably should be a workshop with the entire board, so that everybody's on board to know just what happens, because our infrastructure is old. A lot of it has been put into the village around the 1940s. So
Right.
it's just a disaster waiting to happen, and we want to be prepared for it. And it's better to be proactive than reactive, and that's where it is.
Thank you.
Okay, so our action item then is Dorothea, me, and you. Let's pull together whatever material already exists. Okay, we'll get with Jeff Turner, and then we'll schedule a workshop. We'll
Sounds
start in.
fair.
Does that sound good for the
Sounds
rest
fair.
of
That would
everybody?
be great.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to do this. This is, this is being fiscally responsible, and we have to anticipate the future.
Thank you. Yeah, and that sounds great to me as well, and I'm happy to support in whatever capacity makes sense. Thank you for being willing to address that. I just had one other question to briefly go back up to the general fund part of the presentation, and in terms of the attempt to keep the tax rate flat this year, I believe there's been discussion before about keeping it up with the cost of living, and I know that we've got planned out in the budget 2.5% increases for the mayor's salary, for the trustee salaries, and I do think that makes sense. We've also got increases in retirement costs, and we talked about how legal may be underrepresented in the budget, and specifically about the fact that the comptroller has called that out as well in previous years. And it seems that there's a common interest in making sure that reflects reality for the coming year. I'm a bit concerned that the new board, especially with some new members, myself included, it might be a bit hamstrung if we're not accounting for a cost of living increase. And I know that there's assessments that have increased recently, but I'm worried that we're either going to be in a situation where we're not able to fund things like pedestrian initiatives, sustainability, and some of the technical improvements that we've talked about to village infrastructure with websites, et cetera, if we don't account for a cost of living increase with the taxes. Or we'll be in a situation where we have to increase taxes by more in the coming year. So I guess, that's along the same lines. The comptroller also mentioned that they had some concerns about the unrestricted fund balance being a small amount of the total appropriations in 2018 and 19, so 7% and 12% correspondingly, and I think they wanted to see something like 15%. So I just wanted to bring that to attention and just make sure that we've got an accurate percentage of the appropriations in the general fund, moving in that direction and making sure that we're keeping up with overall costs for the village. Thanks.
Justin, thanks. I'd love to jump in. So I'll only address the first point. You know, I know you've seen the numbers. This is the first year in 14 years that we're not going to raise taxes significantly. Any way you slice it, over the last 10 years, it's gone up way more than the cost of living. To quote Bob Corby, it has to go up sometimes and then down sometimes and then up sometimes and down sometimes. Holding it flat during a pandemic is something that we all feel very, or I'll speak personally, feel very serious about. It went up 18% last year. We got to market correct for that. And yeah, so I hear you, but yeah, that's it.
Any other thoughts from folks?
There's you know, I know that there are going to be different opinions around this, and I certainly respect that. I would like to find out, and this is probably a calculation that I can do on my own if Mary doesn't have it readily available, and I don't want to put anybody in the spot here, but as far as the percentage of where do we anticipate the general fund balance is going to be, I think it was 180,000 or so that we're anticipating by May. What percentage of appropriations is that going to leave us at? And what's that trend? What do we think that trend is going to be with a 0% increase in the coming year?
Loaded question. I can't truly answer you that question. I think that's a little bit out of my realm. The coming year, I'm just thinking here, not this one. I was thinking the reassessment from the town, which will hit not this fiscal year, but the next fiscal year. I don't know. I'd have to run that past the accountant, to be fair.
Okay. Yeah, that's
answer
fine.
you
Definitely don't want to put
fairly.
anybody in the spot, and I know there's a lot involved. I just want to, you know, aside from the opinions on this, I want to make sure that we've all got the best data in front of us to make sure that we're aligning with comptroller recommendations and doing what we plan on doing.
Okay.
Great. Anything else before we make a motion?
Oh, real
I
quick.
have one other item that I wanted to circle back on. So we don't have to solve this right now, but Dorothea, somebody raised a really interesting idea to me, a villager, and said, you know, to solve the problem of the trustees having a different packet than the attendees, why don't you not email the meeting packet and just post it on a website, and then we're all looking at the same file? The benefit of that, so first of all, there's a bunch of benefits to that. One is that we don't clog up our email quotas, because these PDFs, as you know, can get really big. We as trustees can just go download them, and then we're looking at the same file as the public is. Maybe it's just something to think about. We don't have to solve it right now, but just an idea.
I can touch on that real quick. The reason we have two packets is, one, some of the information in your packet we don't make available to the public because it's redundant, like the bill pay. They really don't need to see that whole thing. In the minutes, we never want to have the minutes out until they're approved because that makes them an accurate reflection. So there's the reason why there's two sets. And I agree with you, we could just move it all to the other, and that would save the emailing of the packet. I did reach out to Integrated, talk to them about the quotas. They're going to be adjusting it to fix it. It's like $2. So it's all going to be resolved. You're going to see that 90%, because mine was at 90% when I took a look, and it all dropped. So that's all resolvable.
$2?
I really felt comfortable being able to sign off on the $2. I'll even throw it in myself if you were really that desperate.
We'll take up
It's not in the budget. I'm sorry. It's not in the budget.
But real quick, I wanted to address something
Break the
Zach
bank.
requested last night about the summer hours. I did speak to Christian Cassini. That was the phone call that I stepped away to take. So Christian recommended, if this is a temporary measure, we're not looking to make this permanent. If we're making it permanent by doing this action, it creates practice. with letting them, the summer hours start earlier. If we want to make this just the one-time thing due to the traffic situation, we could do a quick memorandum of understanding. And that way it's just clear with the union that we did this because of the situation. So if the board's good to go ahead, we could approve the summer hours based with the drawing up of a memorandum of understanding signed with the union. Does that
I
make
think
sense?
that sounds good.
So if you want to, you could actually make that motion and second tonight for Zach, and we get that memorandum of understanding signed off by the union, and he could get the guys going for April 27th.
Okay, let's see. I make a motion to issue a memorandum of understanding based on changing the hours to summer hours. Do we have to delineate the hours in the motion, or?
Just the standard summer hours that we do, what, June through Labor Day, Zach?
Yes.
Earlier, you wanted
But they're changing this year.
Yes, you want them to
Yes.
reflect the early start of
6
April
a.m.
27th.
what was the start date?
April 27th.
Okay, so commencing on April 27th,
April 26th.
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 Pay schedule?
I'm sorry, I got budget in my head.
Nope, that's fine.
Okay, so commencing on April 26th?
Correct. Due to the traffic situation.
Yeah, due to the traffic situation caused by a major bridge repair in the village. A temporary
Yep.
traffic situation.
The other part of that is the 7 a.m. start time on Friday, changing that to a 6 a.m. Start time and working till 10 a.m.
Did you get that, Dorothea?
I got it.
Okay, somebody did. Do you want?
We got it.
Did everybody understand it? Do you want to read it back?
It's a motion to temporarily start the summer hours, April 26th, temporarily due to a traffic situation due to a major bridge reconstruction, including the changing of the Friday hours to start at 6 a.m. and end at 10.
And do we want to say when the summer hours will end in that memorandum, up until a certain date?
They normally at their normal end date of at Labor Day.
Oh, okay, but I mean, I think it should be in the memorandum.
That's fine. We'll reflect it.
Yeah. Okay, so the motion is on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Stetser.
Trustee Keating,
Keating, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lightgib,
Lightgib, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Plummer, aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. All set,
Thank
Zach.
you.
Yeah.
One other question I guess would be is everybody working the same hours throughout the week, or is there going to be a stray work doing 8-hour days a week?
Thoughts?
I-
Lily, yeah.
I think that might take more conversation. That would be my recommendation, that you would sit with Mayor Plummer and you would go over what's entailed with your request, because of the coverage. We want to make certain that we have coverage. So I think that's a little bit more complicated and maybe a longer conversation.
Yeah, why
And
don't we
then
do
you
that
can-
offline, Zach? And then we'll bring it back to the board.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Okay,
good idea.
thank you. guys.
Yep. Dorothea, anything else for the group here?
Nope, that's it.
Everybody good? Okay.
I have one
yeah.
question. I have
Okay.
one question. The budget that we looked at tonight is the budget that is going to go forward on April 27th, no changes, or pending some of the questions you had that we were going to look at,
Mhm.
does it call for another meeting next week? And if so, you would have to set that meeting.
That's a good point. Well, I'll say I have to call Mindy because we're concerned about that category, right? And did we all agree to drop the cost of the signs by half, the outdoor signs? So that goes in. What
That's
if-
Yeah,
You're
that
talking
was
about
just a drop of
$600,
Yeah,
and I'll just move it over to the contingency fund for now. It's just a, okay.
And I think Justin was going to also, excuse me for speaking out of turn.
no,
Sorry.
go.
Justin was going to provide us some information regarding what would be involved in a cost of living tax increase of 2.5. Is that correct, Justin? You wanted to provide a little bit more background for us?
Well, I would like to, my question relates to where that leaves us with the general fund. And
Fund balance? Okay.
yeah, and specifically, I think that we should be able to, according to the comptroller recommendation, they said that if our fund balance drops below a certain percentage below the appropriations, we need to have a 5-year plan in order to get it back in the range they expect. And so I want to know if we have that kind of plan in place, and where the 0% tax increase leaves us with respect to that. And I know that's a hard number to come up with. Maybe I can follow up with Mary. But personally, I wouldn't really feel comfortable with the budget unless we're moving in that direction. So if the 2.5% cost of living increase would help us to reattain those levels, I think that we're doing pretty well, but I would like to go into that question a little bit and see if related to a more a cost of living increase of 2.5% or so, if that would help us to get things back into the levels they expect.
Yeah, Dorothea?
Mary, real quick, are we within the fund balance that we're supposed to be now?
Right now we are, but it all determines what happens at year end. I mean, there's work that I
Right
don't
now, we're
do.
looking like we're looking like we're
We're
gonna stay.
okay for
It's close.
right
close.
now. We're looking okay, but
I think it was a short period. We fell below and then we recovered.
Yes.
Correct?
right.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're
we
right
did-
back,
we
we're kind
came
of on
back
the
up.
razor's edge.
Yeah,
Right.
and given
Yeah.
that,
I just wanted to say that we're right now we're within the comptroller things. So
thank you.
that just being
Yeah,
said.
if we were consistent and fell below that, then we have to incorporate that
Mhm.
5-year plan of however far we fell below, we need to incorporate that into our budget as a difference and to build that back up specifically for that purpose. The other option is if you took the 2.5% that you might increase the tax level with and designated it for that specific purpose, that's another way to look at it. But I think I would feel better myself instead of just shooting from the hip there, is
Mhm.
to have the accountant actually talk to you about that particular item.
Yeah, I'd
Just
be happy to
we're
do that.
on the right, right on the right page with all of that. Because
Yeah.
we are
Yeah.
sitting on the edge,
Yeah, we're
Right.
on the,
hoping to
Yeah, we are.
move
right
up.
now, we're at the bottom of the range of compliance,
Right. Well, given that and given the fact that we've underestimated in terms of legal fees in prior years, I think that talking with the accountant about that would be prudent to figure out what we're doing there. And based on that, I think that a meeting next week could be justified, is my personal thought on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then what would work for everybody?
Well, if you agree that that would be justified, I'm only one member of the board, so, and I'm new at this, so.
Well, what we could do is, I don't know that everybody has to meet with the accountant, I
No.
mean, how about if that's an assignment for you and Mary, and, you report back to the board in terms of where we are and what we possibly might be needed. I think that might be helpful,
Yep, I agree. And the question is, how do I report back to the board outside? Do we set the meeting for next week to do that reporting back at this point?
Well, we could set a meeting because I'm following up with Mindy.
Okay.
How does everybody feel about that? Just another
Yes.
meeting, just to
Same
kind of-
time?
Are we looking for March 21st at 4 p.m. again?
And who?
That would be Wednesday,
April
March
21st?
April. Jeez.
Take a
Wow.
month.
Come on, Dorothy, I don't want to live some days over.
Wow. Okay.
All right, so you're looking at 4/21 at 4
Works.
o'clock.
Yeah, that
Is
would be a
good?
Wednesday.
Okay.
Wednesday at 4?
Is that
It's
work?
my
Then I'll get
birthday.
a
This
poster.
better be worth a
No,
meeting.
no,
All
no.
right, wait. Let's move it to Thursday. Last year you had to be on your birthday.
I did.
Tom,
I had a really long meeting on my birthday. Okay.
Yeah, I'm so
If
sorry.
you all
Let's
can
move it
do
to
it, say-
Thursday.
Thursday at 4 p.m., that'd be super awesome. Not that
I
I
can
could do
hold
anything
on.
for my birthday, but
I can do
Either that or we're coming to the
4:30.
party.
Hang on,
I can do-
Dan.
Can we do 4:30 on Thursday?
I actually am fine as long as we're done by like 6 o'clock if we keep it on my birthday. I'm not a person who takes the day off, but like if we think it's going to be a pretty precise meeting, we're not going to do what we did tonight, right?
No,
So
I
then,
think it's just regrouping and everybody reporting back and making
Yeah.
sure we're tweaking the last little bits of it. But
yeah,
I mean, if we have it on the 22nd, it's Earth Day, and that's fun too.
I'm fine with keeping it on a Wednesday. That seems to be our pattern. And it'll give me a good excuse to keep you all concise.
Good, and we can sing you happy birthday, so that's what we look forward to.
I think we did that last year too. We're coming for cake this time though.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're
Okay.
all set then for our meeting next week. Justin, you're gonna get with Mary and, follow up, and I'll get with Mindy.
Yep.
And if anybody has any other thoughts in between now and then, we'll bring them back to the meeting. So I make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Lampier second.
Oh.
We just jumped right on that one.
Trustee Keating,
Keating, aye.
trustee Stetser,
My dog is making weird noises. Aye.
trustee Lightgib,
Come
Like
on.
in
Run.
Yeah.
trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
Mayor Plummer,
Aye.
motion passes.
Thanks,
We'll be
everybody.
seeing Justin and Dan. I'll be seeing you at 1 o'clock tomorrow.
Yes,
Dan's
thank
gone?
you.
Yeah, okay, we'll see you then.
See you.
Thanks
Thank you,
again.
everybody.
Have a
Great job.
wonderful evening.
Yeah,
Everybody,
thanks.
good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.